What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand. And today I want to talk to you guys about some original Xbox games that would have been great to play on the Series X. These are games that just did not make it onto the backwards compatibility list for one reason or another. I'm not going to talk about reasons as to why they did not make it onto the list, but instead what I am going to talk about are some games that would have been a ton of fun to play on the Series X. This is also not going to be a video where I rank the games from worst to best or best to worst. These are just games that I think would have been great to play on the Series X. Also, these are all games that I have played at one point or another, so I can truthfully tell you these are games that I've had personal experience with that I can truthfully tell you would have been great to play in this day and age. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this video, take a look at some original Xbox games that would have been great to play today, right after the intro. So the first game that I want to talk about on this list is Mech Assault. Boy, this game was a ton of fun back in its day. Essentially what Mech Assault was, you had these giant mechs that you would control, and it had its own campaign and its own online multiplayer. You would essentially have to take down other mechs, and it was just a really fun game. It was also part of the Mech Warrior universe. Now, Mech Assault did get a sequel onto the original Xbox, although I haven't played much about it, so I can't really talk about it too much. But what I can talk about is that Mech Assault was a phenomenal game back on the original Xbox during its day. I know a lot of people will vouch for me that this game would have been great to play on the Series X. Unfortunately, it didn't for whatever reason or another, but what I can tell you is that this game was a total blast to play, and I would love to pop this game into my Series X and have myself a good time, because wow, what a game this was back in its day. I have to talk about this game on this list, and that is Jet Set Radio Future. This was another incredible exclusive that was put onto the original Xbox back in its day. Thankfully, Sega really came in with some really heavy hitters when it came to some good exclusive titles with the first years of the original Xbox, and Jet Set Radio Future was definitely one of them. This game allowed you to go all across Tokyo and put up some graffiti, do kinds of cool tricks, run from the police. It was just a really awesome game. It also had a really dope soundtrack to it too. It is really unfortunate that Sega did not include this one onto the backwards compatibility list. Now, this game was another fun one to play, and that was Burnout 3 Takedown. This game was just pure, mindless fun, which allowed you to just race across the different racetracks, try to crash into your enemies to make sure that you would get those takedowns. And it was just a very fun, mindless, destructive game, and I absolutely adored this game back in 2004. Now, for whatever reason, we did get Burnout Revenge and two other Burnout titles that did make it onto the backwards compatibility list, but none of the original Xbox Burnout games did not make it onto the list. Of course, my favorite of some of the older Burnout games is Burnout 3 Takedown, because this game was just pure perfection when it came to its soundtrack, the different racetracks, different modes that you could choose from. It was just a really fun game. I don't know why EA just did not include this one onto the backwards compatibility list when it came to the Series X. Now, of course, I do want to talk about Kung Fu Chaos. This was a really fun exclusive title on the original Xbox that allowed you to just go in and just start beating up all your enemies. You'd have like these different stages and arenas, and it was just a really fun game, especially when you had multiple people over and you guys were all duking it out, trying to beat each other up. This was just a really fun game. Another one that I just think is just a tragedy that it it did not make it onto the Series X, because like I said, if you had yourself a bunch of people over and you were all going in on each other, I gotta say, you could have a ton of fun playing this game. Now, another really fun Xbox exclusive that was made by Sega for the original Xbox that I would love to play on my Series X is Outrun 2. This game was so much fun back in its day. You would have a selection of different Ferraris that you would be able to choose from, and you would get your girlfriend into your Ferrari and you would try to show it off by zooming around, trying to get to those checkpoints, go to the different places across the country. It was a really fun game. It really played like a really dope arcade racer. Clearly this game was not a racing game, but it was a really fun driving game. And this game, I cannot reiterate enough just how much fun it was to play. Now, another really interesting exclusive title that was from the original Xbox that I would love to play is Quantum Redshift. This game is kind of like Microsoft's own take on F-Zero. I thought it was a pretty interesting game. Clearly, you can tell that the game tried to do things quite a bit differently, but still stick to the theme of futuristic racing, such as F-Zero. And I will admit, this game is nowhere near as good as F-Zero, but what I can say is that this game is still pretty fun, especially since it is a relatively cheap game that you can pick up on the original Xbox. It is unfortunate that you can't play it on modern hardware, because I think that would open up the door to more people to play it. But what I can tell you is that it is a pretty fun racer that would have been a total blast to play in this day and age. Now here's another Sega game that's off of the original Xbox's library, but it is a third-party title this time, and that is Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes was a pretty fun game in my opinion back in its day. I liked how you had the different teams of Team Sonic, Team Chaotix, and Team Rose, and you would essentially be able to do is use your different teammates to either help you get through places really fast or go across areas where you would have to fly, break different objects. I thought it was a pretty fun game. Now, I do understand that some people did not like repeating the different levels with the different teams, along with a few other minor complaints, but overall, I thought that Sonic Heroes was a pretty fun game. Of course, this is another game that I'm just kind of sitting here wondering, why is this not backwards compatible? Now, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of games at once with this one, and I want to talk about the James Bond 007 games that were off of the original Xbox. These games were a ton of fun, and what I really liked about these games was not only were they action-packed and just had so much excitement that came along with them, but in my personal opinion, I don't think you needed to be a James Bond fan or be familiar with the 007 films to have fun with these games. These games were just very fun, exhilarating, and I gotta say, I think it is just a total shame that the 007 games, whether it's 007 Nightfire or 007 Everything or Nothing or anything in between, just didn't make it onto the backwards compatibility list, because like I said, these games were so good to play back during their time. Now, another great racer to talk about on this list is Midnight Club 3. The Midnight Club games were so much fun back in the 2000s, back when Rockstar acknowledged that it was a series that did exist. The Midnight Club games were very fun games that would allow you to do lots of different street racing. You'd have a very cool selection of cars, and of course, these games did have a great soundtrack. With Midnight Club 3, I would say that it is one of the best Midnight Club games within the series, so it is pretty unfortunate that you can't play it on the Series X today. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to agree with me on this choice right here, and that is The Simpsons Hit and Run. This game was a blast to play back in its day, where you would go across Springfield and you would get different collectibles, you'd finish the different missions and get different vehicles. This game was just incredible. If you ever wondered what playing Grand Theft Auto was like with Simpsons characters with a more cartoony environment, environment. The Simpsons Hit and Run was that game right there. This game was incredible. Now, the game itself is pretty expensive to pick up because it is relatively sought after, and I can see why, because the game is just that good of a game. It is unfortunate that you can't play the game on modern hardware today because, like I said, I think this game was just that good of a game. I think it was just a game that I would love to go back and replay. Now, of course, if you have your original Xbox, no problem. And of course, if you do have some of the other consoles the game was also put on, it is unfortunate that you won't be able to play this one on the Series X. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.